One model is being a lean, mean listing machine. It's where all the leverage is, highly profitable. You keep 50+%, live within your means, invest the difference. It'll work, it'll take 20 years. Second model is where you're an agent that is high in production and you try to create a team. The logic is leverage. The problem is that it's not that profitable, because when it all shakes out, when you back out salaries, which are like your agents, what you pay your broker and what you pay for lead gen, you're keeping like 20%. It's like a referral. So it's not the most productive thing to stack time on top of, but a lot of people get lost in that. Yep. It also pulls them out of production, and it causes them to actually lower their production volume because it's taking time. The third thing that percolated to the surface is that one of the guys who's going to speak on stage, he came over here from Long and Foster. His name's Brandon. He has 22 companies within real estate. And what he said from stage, which was fascinating, is that his team is the lowest profitable thing that he does, that causes the most headache. But it leads to all of the other businesses. It's the entry into the transaction, which leads to all the ancillary, right? So he's not twisted about what it is. He's like, I do this to get to this other stuff. But the only way to do that is to get huge. Does that make sense? Yep. Because the margins are getting increasingly smaller. The only way to make that work is if you're gigantic and do like 1,000 units like those people you see on stage, right? The fourth option, which after triangulating what I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, well, what seems to be percolating to the surface as the most leverage option is to be a lean, mean listing machine, but then grow a team as an organization, which is just another version of a team. Yep. But I get rid of the two most expensive things in running a team. I don't need to house them, and I don't need to give them any leads. And the third thing is my time. I don't have to really manage them that much.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
So
probably the biggest one too.
Right. So it's the highest leveraged, profitable thing. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where everybody's trying to do the team in the physical world, but unless they go enormous, it's actually not, and unless they understand that it's a loss leader to get to the ancillary, it's a waste of time.
But what do you think about using the team? So like for somebody in my position now, I look at Jonathan Tsai, I look at Tina Kaw, I look at some of these people that are doing
team plus attraction.
Yeah. But they also have done it at scale. Can it be done on a smaller scale, or do you think it's just a distraction?
I think the only reason to do it is because you're trying to get to ancillary.
Which in my case would just be.
It could be also mortgage, could be title, could be insurance off of the production, could be property management. But you'd have to, the key there is you have to have operational partners. Because I don't personally want, and I don't think you do because you want to be on a farm, I don't want to be involved in the operation of those ancillary services. So it's JVs with title, JVs with mortgage.
Well, I mean more so for attraction than.
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I'm a perfect example. It's not necessary for attraction. Because of what you know, that's enough. Because I haven't sold real estate in 2 years. But check this out. The organization did 1,000 units. But I didn't sell any. I didn't need to. So I don't think it's necessary. The only reason to do it is because you're trying to get to ancillary, because you really won't make that much money from it when it all shakes out off the team. It might be like 20%, which is like, is it even worth the time? Now, if you want to maintain it, good. But like, I think the reason to maintain it is to get to ancillary. So you can, so think about this, like at the beginning of the race. So here's the beginning of the race, a contract gets signed. At the end of the race, there's a closing. Well, all along this path, a bunch of people get paid. Title, mortgage, escrow, home inspection, property management, lending. So the only reason to really get into the brokerage, like to run a team, is to get to that. Unless you go enormous. Does that make sense? And small brokerages have the same problem. Brokerages that have like 60 agents. Listen,
Small broker.
Here's what I know about them. The broker isn't making any money. And they have to sell real estate if they want to make money. So the only, and what they're dealing with are these massive headwinds. The first headwind is company retained dollar to brokerages has dropped 50% in the last 50 years. So it used to be 50-50 splits. They're keeping now 8 to 10% when you back out all the expenses. First problem. Second problem, we went from 6 to 7 million transactions to 3.8 million. Revenue's down dramatically. Third problem, NAR. Now you have, which causes buy-side revenue to be volatile. So I have a one-on-one client in Pennsylvania. Seller had 16 offers on the property. The offer they accepted, best price, best terms, best commission. Buyer's agent lowered their commission by 1.5 points. So I've talked to Glenn and I've talked to Leo. I did a live interview with him. They both say buy-side revenue, if they had to bet, will go down 20, 30%. So imagine a brokerage, right, who is dealing with all of these headwinds simultaneously. They only have a handful of options. Number one is to sell. It's the worst time to sell. Number two is to merge with other smaller firms to try to get more agents. But the problem is with more agents come more expenses. You're still not going to make any money unless you have ancillary. Third thing to do is raise the fees to agents. You actually commoditize the agents. I've spoken to brokerages where they're telling their agents, if you don't do 10 million in volume, your split's higher. If you don't use our title company and our mortgage company, your split's higher. The fourth option is to get rid of all of the expenses. How do you get rid of all of the expenses? Cloud-based brokerage. It's the only answer. It's EXP or a cloud-based brokerage. It's the only way you get rid of all the expenses. So you can take what you have, put it on a platform. You don't have to do the brokerage component, answer any questions. I don't answer any questions for the 356 agents on documentation or paperwork. There's local brokers to do that. But then what happens is let's say a broker has 60 agents. Over time, that'll turn into 200, 300, 500, 600. Because right now, they're limited geographically with where they can attract. And they're the only one doing the recruiting. Does that make sense? But the only thing that stops them is two: ego and a lack of understanding. They can't see it. It's just traditional. So what they don't realize is they think, oh, you're just an agent. You're agent, I'm broker. What they don't understand is this model makes me them. They're actually competing with me for agents. This looks legit, no?
It's a solid deal.
What's more true? Hey, I've attracted 356 people to the company and I haven't picked up the phone once. And he was like, I don't agree with that. I think you should pick up the phone. And I'm like, I get it. What you're saying is true, but there's some context. When I tell people that I did 100 deals and 75 were expireds, they're like, oh my God, because they're thinking about doing that today's world. It's impossible to do in today's world. I did that in 2010 when we had the highest number of expired listings ever. And when he was in the company in 4 years ago, but that's where they went from 20,000 to 80,000. So it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I get it, that worked, but the problem is it's not scalable. So at his age, at 65, he's still having to do that. Yeah. Yes? Yep. And what I was like, hey bro, when I'm your age, I won't have to do that because people call me.
So is he doing any?
No. And he was poo-pooing it, you know? He's like, no, it's bad. And like, trust me, like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, here's what's interesting.
Did you have that dialogue on stage?
Yeah. Like in front of everybody. Yeah. So, and I was like, all right, well, what we're talking about is scale. So I used to do the one-to-one and I did 200 units, you know what I mean? Fine, it works, but there's something that's actually more scalable. So me doing events, that's one-to-many, that's better. Yep. Yes, more leveraged. But the media thing is leveraged, it's infinitely scalable. I'm sending myself in the digital form to go have conversations with agents all the time, perpetually, constantly, nonstop. While I'm talking to you guys, somebody's watching a video right now. Yep. Does that make sense? Yep. He just couldn't. Right. So, and one's being made as we're talking. So like what I'm aware of is you just couldn't see that. What just lets me know your understanding of leverage, but that's okay.
But I also love that this is the environment that those two ideas can get up.
Can clash.
And then people can both sides.
And they can make their own decisions. Yeah. So yeah, because in other environments, it just gets shut down immediately. At one of the first sessions or in a mastermind we were in, they were like, hey, there's a difference between being competitive and being ambitious. So competitive people compare to others.
Yep.
But you can never reach your full potential being competitive, purely. What's up, brother? Get some rest?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you were struggling yesterday, bro. Hey, 10,000 agents. You know what he said to me, by the way? I asked him, what's your biggest challenge right now? Finding something to be passionate about. And he said, even at his numbers, he was like, yeah, like he didn't grow up with a lot of resources. Yeah. It's like, I still kind of think about that. I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? Just shows that it's psychological. It's not. So, but anyway, ambitious is where you have a love of learning. And he gave an example of in the NFL, they did that documentary between Mahomes and Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota. Well, here's what he said. Kirk Cousins, competitive and compares himself to other people. He said competitive people, oftentimes they also, like Kirk Cousins will have 2 good games, but then 1 really bad game. He has this trophy room, like this room of me, and he pulled out like his schedule, like the way his coach described him when he was in high school. He's like, yeah, that's still me. He looks at Mahomes, and Mahomes is constantly doing what? Innovating. He's throwing sideways. He's like, you know what I'm saying? Coming up, and who's having
run game, the whole deal, yeah.
Who's having more fun? And who's won more rings? What it made me think about is that previous environment we were in, competitive,
right.
Purely, not ambitious, right. Not interested in learning new things, interested in learning one thing and one thing only.
In fact, closed off.
Closed off. In fact, when anybody talks about anything that's new, what happens? Poo-poo, stupid, dumb, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yes?
And don't even show up.
And don't even show up or think about it. And if you do show up, you're not part of my crew and like, boom, you're done. Which that doesn't lead to, you don't have a lot of fun. Because ambitious people have more fun because they're constantly learning new things. They're having like a blast because they're just learning. I mean, it's interesting when you look at your evolution. You know, you went from someone who saw yourself in the crowd to now seeing yourself on the stage.
Yep.
But that had to do with somebody casting that vision for you because you hadn't even perceived that or thought of that in any way. Then you went from somebody who was like, nah, dude, I don't do media and was wildly uncomfortable. Now you just hired a videographer full time. Yep. Right? Like, that's ambitious. You were competitive before.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And what's happening? Are you having more fun?
It's a lot.
It's a lot more fun, bro. So I know like what they were saying is true. I mean, even here, like we've talked about, like the fact that they want me to speak on media is comical to me.
Right.
Because 3 years ago, I would have made fun of people who do media and be like, it's silly, dumb, don't do that. It's a waste of time.
How many people in the audience are going to be like that and will be affected by what you said?
Right. Yeah, the goal would be is just to like, because I think to myself, like, what, because it's such a short period of time. It's like, what could you say that if people walked away with it, they're like 50% of the way there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. What is it, 45 minutes?
Yeah, and there's three. Yeah, and there's like a couple people. Yeah, I could talk for like an hour just on this. Yeah, but
What did you come up with?
no, so I think what I came up with is story branding. So like what I think is really cool is that today, even though I didn't hear it, they're talking a lot about it. When it comes to technology, most people get lost in the weeds and the mechanics.
Yep.
They'll get lost in the AIs, the chat GPTs. And really that's the minutia of like the technical component of creating, whether it's thumbnails, you know, like editing, whatever, right? But nobody's talking about strategy, which is how to position yourself as a guide to help people to solve their problems. And what everybody else is doing is using their media as a mechanism to glorify themselves.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Here's me and my listing. Who's the hero? Me. Here's me with the property I sold. Who's the hero? Me. Here's me with my grandkids. Who's the hero? Me. And I think that's actually more important than the minutia that people get lost in.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes over.
Yeah.
I think everyone's gonna be like, well, you know, I do.
But people love my
They-
kids stuff.
Yeah.
And,
But yeah, you know, I want to talk about all the tools I use. And I was like, okay, I guess so. Because I feel like agents get like, I asked 3 agents that are in our org that are here, and I'm like, what'd you think of the AI talk? And they're like, they get like overwhelmed.
well, but that goes back to even the delivery of that presentation.
Right. And it's like overwhelming. Is this where we're going? Yeah? Yeah?
Yep.
This where the really cool people go? Is that what's going on? All right, let's just find a table, bro, in the back. Who gives a shit?
The table you reserved.
Okay.
Choose another.
No problema. De nada. Hey, no big deal. Hey, no big deal. Just a billionaire standing over it. Hey, what other company does that happen? Bebe, do you have hand sanitizer by any chance? Dang, I gotta walk like a mile to wash my hands. We'll see who has discipline. Have you ever been a long distance landlord before? Does that concern you at all? With what's happening in Florida with like, if it's breaking even, I mean, the insurance rates are out of control. If that goes up next year, would it mean that you would negative cash flow? How long are you prepared to negative cash flow for? And if you did sell it, could you reallocate the capital and put it into something that has a better return? If you're moving to be closer to your family, would you rather have an asset that's closer to your family? I would know that before. So I haven't been in production for 2 years because I'm focused on what we're doing now. But when I was heavily in production, for every I would make 12 contacts a day and set 2 appointments.
12 companies over 3 hours.
12 to 15.
That's over 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'm only calling like probates. I'm only calling people that have really high statistically. I'm making data-driven decisions.
And those are free.
Well, no, you have to pay for those lists. Yeah, but what I would do, so what I did is I sent people to the courthouse to get the data because it's not a highly productive use of my time to go get it.
Yeah.
But I would send them to get it. There's also third-party vendors that can provide it for you.
Okay.
And I'm again making a data-driven decision that the only people that I'm going to speak with, I'm going to swim in pools that have high degrees of probability of doing business. So that was a factor of 2 things. One is skill after doing this for such a long time. And the second is swimming in pools that are higher chance of motivation.
From obituaries, just looking up obituaries.
I wouldn't do that.
No.
I didn't personally. I would send people to court. We send people to 3 courthouses.
So what do you do now? What is your main focus?
I have a coaching company where we teach agents how to sell real estate in high volume. So I do that. We have courses that we sell online. I do that. I do media, you know, we post 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week, 5 days a week on long form and YouTube. And then the agent attraction. So from a standstill, 0 agents 2.5 years ago, we're now at just under 400.
Under elite builders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just, I made that up. It's a brand within EXP. And the goal is to build that to thousands. So 75% of all of the coaching and training that I provide to agents that they pay for, like that role play group I was telling you about, I have a probate course online that's $1,000. 75% of all of that becomes free when people partner with us, because proximity is power. Getting around the right people. So, my business partner at EXP, his name's Jose Morales. I've coached him since he's 26. He's 37 today. He'll do $2 million this year in commissions. He owns 57 doors at 37 years old. He has 300,000 followers on TikTok, 142,000 on Instagram. He does a call like I do once a week where you can ask him anything you want. It's free. He also has this thing called Morales University where he, when I was coaching him, he had the foresight. He recorded it. He recorded live role plays. Then he started recording conversations that he was having with people. So he has 20,000 hours where you can listen and learn that specialized skill in like the specialized knowledge in this specific vertical. That's normally $400 a month. It's free. You also get super high level coaching and instruction. Most companies who does the coaching and instruction are people that are candidly like they've never actually.
Wait, so we're back up to what we're talking about. We're talking about bringing people to what?
EXP.
You can say pyramid.
Hey, all businesses are pyramids.
Yeah, technically.
I mean, like the CEOs of companies make 300.
Well, as long as at the end of the day it's a real product. That's the only,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's what I tell people. I'm like, well, okay, so let's say there's a CEO, yes. And then there's C-suite executives, yes. Then there's middle managers. Then there's all the workers. And I'll draw it. I'm like, what shape is that? It's like all businesses.
The brand, elite builders, is built more like towards GC, not towards being a realty.
Oh, you mean the name?
You know, elite builders.
Yeah, the name is because my coaching company is Elite Coaching. And Builders is building something.
Yeah, but
That's the point. I'm not just
selling, not building.
I'm not just selling something. Yeah, I'm building something. We have 4 or 5 agents in the organization that have like 40 agents already. And the cool part about it is I believe with what's happening in the industry, there's a compression. It's been going on for a while. And as such, the agents of the future will have multiple ways of getting compensated. One is commissions, which we can teach you how to be productive. 2 is equity. Makes sense. If I'm going to spend 10, 15 years selling something, I should earn equity in the company that I'm working for. Not it be hierarchical where one person owns everything. Like the traditional model is feudalism. One person owns everything. All of the serfs do all the work. They never own anything. And you know what? They give you pieces of plastic and barbecues at the end of the year. That's crazy. Last year, they distributed $230 million in rev share, but only 12% of the company received any of it. It's a super highway for leaders. You can do whatever you want. It's a platform.
Where does that money come from?
So,
Which part of?
so it's an 80-20 split up to a $16,000 cap.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
So where the money comes from for revenue share is the company takes half of that $16,000 cap, $8,000. They run the company with it. The other half they redistribute it to the agents in the form of revenue share. Does that make sense? So that's where it comes from. It comes from the money that they're sending to EXP, not out of the agents' commissions. So I think the agents of the future, they will sell real estate. They will earn it. They'll be vertically integrated. They'll earn equity, and they have this like a rev share opportunity, and all of that makes up for compression and commissions. When you bring somebody, I do a call once a week. It's free. It's normally $250 a month. They get access to the role play groups. Becomes free. We manage it all. Agents pay $1,000 a year to be in those groups for each one. They get access to all my online courses. 23 countries, 8 languages. Free. They get access to Jose's call. Free. They get access to Jose's Morales University. Free. And what we're doing as an organization, me and Carla, and other leaders in the organization, we do these once a month. We also do a live event every year, a big one. So we did we call it the Do More Deal Summit. Last year we had 150 agents fly in from around the country. I taught, other leaders in the organization taught, and then we did a black tie James Bond gala. Next year in February, we expect 300 people to be there. We have Pace Morby coming. Pace has the #1 book in creative finance in the country, Sub2, enormous community. He's coming. And then we also do, I have the founder of one of the softwares, Enzo Dialer. He's coming. I have another guy who founded Need to Sell My House Fast. He's coming. And everybody's going to be doing presentations, equipping agents with what they need. And then for those that have a heart for leadership, like you're saying, We do a leadership retreat once a year. Last year we went to the Dominican Republic.
I guess that's all great. Sorry, I didn't know if that was. My point was like, if I bring some people to the thing, am I doing something? Do they need anything from me?
No, that's what I was trying to explain.
Okay, I'm
They
sorry.
plug
So
in.
I got you.
That's it.
Okay, sorry.
Now, if you wanted to provide something, then you can.
No. But this is your own business to run.
What if you provide?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my job, and the reason why I bang on media and I do all that stuff, I'm writing a book right now.
So are you in your position with the lead builders? Is that something that they were already doing? And
No, I made it up.
with the XP.
Yeah.
You're the one that
I founded it. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you have a lot of agents underneath you. That's how you make your money.
Well,
Plus all your other elements that you.
yeah, three things.
doing.
So I do the consulting company.
Right.
12 of the one-on-one clients I coach make over $1 million a year in gross commission income. We sell courses online, investments, and rev share.
What does EXP provide to the agents? What kind of support do they have? Like CRM?
Yeah, so you get KV Core, which is a CRM. It's normally $400 a month. You get SkySlope. SkySlope is back-end transaction management software, process transactions. EXP is a company. They have all of their icon agents, which are agents that do 30 deals a year or more. They teach classes online, 7 hours a day, 365 days a year, on top of what I'm providing.
What about photograph feeds for taking pictures?
No, you would have to do that. And it's interesting, and I appreciate the questions, because what I'm aware of is whether somebody has faith or not, there's some really cool stuff we can learn from the Bible, right? And Solomon was given a choice. He was like, hey, what do you want? What did he ask for? Wisdom. He could ask for anything, but he asked for wisdom. And when he asked for wisdom, what happened?
He got everything.
He got everything as a result. So I think my experience is, I'm not suggesting it's true for you, but just in general, the focus is off. Yeah? Where what I should be focused on is getting access to the best data. Because that's what's going to make all the difference in the world. It's way more valuable than somebody saying to you, hey, we'll give you $300 for marketing. Or hey, we'll give you, $500 for signs. Or hey, we'll give you an office with a little cubicle for $400 a month. But that keeps people stuck. Yes? What they should be actively and aggressively pursuing is wisdom. What's true? So at the beginning of my career, remember I told you I made $13,000? I hired a coach. And at the time, I wasn't making any money. I paid him $1,000 a month, which at the time was like a crazy amount of money for me, But since then, I'm 44 today. I've been professionally coached since I was 26 years old. Right now, I have 4 in my life. 1 for money, 1 for business, 1 for physical. You know what I mean? So because I had 1 for media, remember I told you I sought that guy out? So what I should be focused on, in my opinion, speaking from my direct experience, is not little dollar amounts. What I should be focused on is how can I get access to data?
What do I get if I bring in the team?
You would have to be with us to get anything. But then what would happen is if you brought them to the thing, you would get access to all my stuff for free, 75% of it. The only thing I don't give people is my one-on-one time. Right? I still do a little bit of that. You get access to all of Jose's stuff. You get access to another partner of ours, Lars, his stuff. And then what would happen is if he partnered when he sells any real estate, as long as he stays with the company, you would get a small portion of what he sends back to EXP. In perpetuity, as long as he's with the company. In traditional models, nobody has any incentive to help anyone. You have to be very mindful about how you incentivize people because it shapes behavior. In most companies, the top agent, you'll never talk to him. Do you know why? He or she has no incentive to help you. Here, I have every incentive. We're partners now. So when I sat down with the CEO, Leo Perea, like a month ago in Miami, you know what I said to him when we sat down? This is a partner meeting. He's a shareholder, and guess what? I'm a shareholder. Our interests are in complete alignment. So what I'm doing is I'm meeting with another owner. We're just partners meeting with each other. In life, I have learned you get what you pay for. When I go to Walmart, what do I get? Garbage. It's just the way it works. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what you're doing. It's leadership, because everything rises and falls on leadership. Right. Leadership mixed with what platform is the platform of the future. the life that I want to create, what platform gives me the opportunity to create it?
So as far as today and getting and moving forward, like I told you this, like kind of the beginning of my seeing, with brokers, everything. Like, what's the next step if I was to choose to go in this route?
Easy peasy. So the next step would be is you just let us know. We would do a group text message with my staff member. Her name is Lori. She's our client care coordinator responsible for onboarding. She would send you, she asks for first name, last name, email address, and license number. She'll send you the application electronically via email. You'll fill it out. EXP takes 24 to 48 hours to check your license, make sure everything's cool, which you just got it, so it's fine. Then your license gets officially transferred with EXP. And then you get access to all of the coaching and training that we provide. The other thing that I would suggest particularly for you, because
all of that's free at that point.
All of it's free. All of it's free. And then the other thing I would suggest for you is EXP as a company has a program called Fast Track. What it is a 6 to 8 week program to get people up and running very fast with accountability, with on top of what I'm doing, but with accountability, coaching, like all that stuff. And it's free. So in other models, you have to pay for it. You pay like $800, $1,000 for it.
A ton of information to get you up and running in 6 to 8 weeks.
Really fast. On top of role play groups. So that way,
again, it's all free.
It's all free.
It's online. It's online. Or?
It's online. So again, the idea is to equip you with everything that you need in terms of specialized knowledge to come out of the gate, hit the ground running.
Let me ask you a question. When people do leave you guys, what is the reason?
My experience is remember I shared with you that attrition rate?
Yeah.
And how most agents do 4 transactions a year. So right now, where we are in the industry, we have a lot of industry headwinds, meaning 2024, there was actually less transactions done than in 2008. Think about that. So during the financial collapse and meltdown, there were more transactions than this year. So the unit volume is way down. We went from 7 million in like 2021, 2022, like high 6 millions, to this year we're on track for 3.8.
Pre-COVID amount.
So because of that, there's a lot of people leaving because they don't make any money. Does that make sense? And because of what we were just describing here, they don't recognize the business and all that other stuff. So my experience is there's no shortage of world-class instruction with what we're doing. It's plugging in. It's available.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the real reason. So this year we brought on, last year when we, at this time of the year, we were at 200. And this year we'll finish up just under 400.
What is your vision for 2025 as well?
I think we'll have about 10% more transactions than we did last year.
Which is not a ton considering that
it's not a ton. So it'll be kind of more the same.
Yeah.
You think the price of storage is coming down?
No, because there's still high demand. So because of that, the formula for what needs to be done, A, is what we talked about today. Yeah. B, you making data-driven decisions around leads. What's working? Right? So what I know is working right now is niches. I also know what's working right now is cash offer programs, because the distressed seller of 2008 were people who bought homes with creative financing or adjustable rate mortgages, operating under the assumption that real estate always experiences double-digit growth. And then that changed. They couldn't afford to maintain the properties, so they put them on in droves. Supply went up majorly, demand dropped, prices came down. Well, who's a distressed seller of 2024? We've had 4 years of aggressive inflation. They say it's like 20, 25%. I took my kids to go get smoothies the other day. It was like $50. So A, we have lots of inflation. B, we have the highest levels of credit card debt we've ever had, the highest levels of car loan debt we've ever had, and the highest levels of education debt. So the distressed seller of 2024 and 2025 are people who just can't pay their bills. So that's why Jose, he's doing a cash offer program. He's doing very well with that. Last month, he made $110,000 on a assignment fee. He made $80,000 on a probate deal. The other thing I know that's working is cash offer programs, but like there are online sites that will find people that raise their hand and say, I want a cash offer. Only 5% of them will accept the cash offer. What they really want is retail, price, but a cash offer. So for those people, you just list it because they're a motivated seller. If they want to do something, then you can buy it. So
Especially have enough time.
So what I would suggest is 2025 is going to be what we talked about today, plus being very strategic in terms of making data-driven decisions about where the leads are, who's doing business. Because when transaction volume drops and 90% of people have mortgages less than 6%, the only people that are going to do business have to. And again, look, cash offers, do those people have some reason why they have to? Yes. Financial distress, like whatever. Probates, do those people have a reason why they have to? Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because there's way less of just the normal people buying and selling. People retiring, moving down here. Yes. People that have been in their homes for a long time and need to move to assisted living now. Yes. That makes sense.
Does EXP do you guys have a physical office?
No.
No, there's no office.
Mm-mm. So what he did is, there are offices, but that's like individuals who decide to do that.
Yeah.
But the brokerage is in the cloud.
Yeah.
The two biggest expenses for brokerage is staff and space.
Sure.
So by eliminating the space, that's how they're able to redistribute the money. Does that make sense?
You allow property management?
I'm sorry?
Does EXP allow property management too?
Yes.
They allow the
100%.
How do they get paid for it?
You just have to, you can do like, if you like, rent a property for somebody, that's a normal transaction. But if you do property management,
Yeah.
to the best of my knowledge, it just needs to be like in a separate LLC
Yeah.
and it's fine. Yeah. And remember, this is what's wild. They give you ways to earn the cap back. So at other companies, the more deals you do, they have like splits. Let's say like it's 90-10, but it never stops. So you make $100,000, you pay them 10. You make 200, you pay them 20. You make 300, you pay them 30. It just keeps going up in perpetuity. Or they have royalty fees that never stop. And they give you no way to earn it back. So EXP, they give you multiple ways to earn it back. One is when you sell your first property every year, which restarts based on when you joined, they give you $200 in stock. If I invite somebody to the company like Joel, he joins, he puts me down as the reason why he joins. When he sells his first property, happens one time, I get $400 in stock as a reward. If I do 80,000 in commissions plus 20 transactions on top, which in our marketplace is like 25, 30 deals, depending on price point, they'll give you $8,000 back in stock every year that you do that. Half the cap.
Right.
If you do 80,000 in commissions plus 20 transactions on top, you go to a couple EXP events a year and teach them classes in their online university, they'll give you the full $16,000 back every year that you do that. If I was doing that for the 15 years I was with another company, I would have walked away with $350,000 in equity. Instead, you know what I walked away with? Hats and pieces of plastic.
No, you walked away with the drive to do your own shit.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Now,
Yeah.
now if I do join and I bring somebody, what do I get from his? Do I also get part of his commission?
If you do what?
If I join and I have two people now.
Yeah, it's not his commission. It's the money that he's sending
Yeah,
to
I
EXP.
understand.
But yes, you would. In perpetuity, as long as he's with the company.
How much?
Once they cap, it stops. So for the first year with somebody you directly sponsor in, the first year, you get 50% of company dollar. So if the company dollar is $8,000, you would get $4,000. If they cap, if they do 80,000 commissions. Second year, it goes down. But it's in perpetuity as long as you're with the company. So to put that in perspective, look, people come to us and they're like, oh, you guys are just a recruiting company. I'm like, no. Do you know that nobody sells more real estate than EXP? According to Inman, we do more units in volume than any brokerage in the country. If you took the top 250 agents at EXP, we would be the number 6 independent brokerage in the country, just with the top 250 agents. We do more units in volume than everybody. But what I'm aware of is, again, there's multiple ways we can help you. It's where like the pros go to grow, right? Like we can help you sell a lot of real estate because that's what we do. We have the ecosystem all built out to give you that specialized knowledge. You also get equity. The third piece is this revenue share thing. Now, what's interesting about the revenue share thing, so remember I shared with you like investments? Well, I sold 2,000 homes, right, in my career to get enough money to invest in institutional grade real estate, like apartment buildings. And in order to produce, let's say like $10,000 a month in reoccurring revenue, 10 to 12. Well, with this EXP thing, I was able to do that in 10 months with almost no money.
You were lying. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. One model is being a lean, mean listing machine. It's where all the leverage is, highly profitable. You keep 50+%, live within your means, invest the difference. It'll work, it'll take 20 years. Second model is where you're an agent that is high in production and you try to create a team. The logic is leverage. The problem is that it's not that profitable. If there's somebody in the marketplace right now who needs my help, my job is to find it. Once you understand this, I could sell anything. I could sell software and I'd be a rock star at it. I could sell real estate, be a rock star at it. Because most people, what they do is they lean more on product knowledge, thinking that's going to help them sell. Like geeking out about product while I'm selling a bunch of stuff. What I'm really searching for are problems. When I reach out, it's like, what's the problem somebody has? And I keep asking questions to identify the problem. You're not going to call anybody, bro?
No, I'm really impressed. I didn't come prepared to call people.
Come on, man. What's to prepare? We're here. This is the best place to do it.
We're watching other people first.
Who are you reaching out to? This is exactly what I was talking about. Do an admin first?
Like me to do this time, like, I mean, obviously.
Well, can you make a list of people that you know?
So
Because I know you've moved here from another area, but
Yeah.
anybody that you know, anybody that you've already engaged with, any other business owners that you've connected with, your girlfriend knows people.
this is what we used to do for agents in Denver, where hi, I'm David Shlamoni here with eXp Realty, and here we are at Luigi's Italiana, and you do this fantastic cinematic short video for that business. And it's not the only thing, but it's part of one of the things I wanted to do to build my own personal brand.
Which I think is great.
Yeah,
I would-
It's one of the elements, right? It's one of the elements.
I think
but
it's like
something
a-
I'm using the tool that I already have.
Yes.
It's strong.
It's strong. It's a good tool. You have the kind of production. My experience is that usually takes a lot of time to produce fruit, where people start to reach out to you. So I feel like
it's a long term. It's more. That's
Yes.
more of a.
So
more of a marathon. I get
that's
it.
like-
But building up that channel of when people come to certain areas.
in my mind, I'm thinking like that's a long-term strategy.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
good.
Sure. It's a marathon. Yeah.
What I would also do is have CTAs, call to actions. So like if you want to learn more about, buying real estate, if you're in Hollywood or wherever you are,
Yeah.
doing like I'm here with the guy who owns whatever here in Hollywood. If you want to learn more about real estate in Hollywood, DM me the word buy or DM me the word sell. You can use ManyChat, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And then what I'll do is that'll take a link to your Calendly where they can book a call.
Nice.
So now I'm using it as actually, instead of just like general awareness,
Yeah. Sure.
now it's a mechanism for actually producing leads. And that would be one of the things we're doing.
Yeah.
The second thing that we can do is this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because this leads to
I
immediate.
get it. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No. I was just thinking, it's so funny because I would always push it with agents like, why don't they do this more? Because they have so these businesses, and you go after popular businesses, not just like any they don't have much followers. You target people that have a ton of followers, make them a fantastic video that they're constantly pushing. You know what I mean? So again, it's just parts of these.
So when you go visit them, I would get a CRM. We use Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss, customer relation management software. So when you go there, get their name, phone number, email address. And then what you can start to do is once a month, a video market update.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Aaron here. Just want to give you an update with what's going on in the real estate market. Obviously, if you got any questions, if you need my help, here's my cell phone number. Let's get into the numbers. So this month in Broward County, here's what's happening. Listings, blah, blah, blah. Here's what's happening with interest rates. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. So now you're touching them 12 times a year.
Right.
Because you're doing that once a month.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then you do it. Then you call them once a quarter. Hey, remember we did that video for you? How'd it do for you? Did it bring in business for you?
Right.
I'm so glad that it was helpful or useful to you. I'm aware as a business owner, you know a lot of people. So I'd love to be like, do you have like a preferred vendor in terms of real estate agents that like you refer friends and family? Because I'd love to be on that list, right? So now that's 3 touches. No, 4, excuse me, because you're doing that 3 times a year.
Right.
Or every quarter. So you're doing it 4 times a year. So now we're up to 12 plus 4 is 16. Then you can do an event once a year or twice a year, like a past client centered appreciation event where you get them together, you do something cool. So I have a client in Massachusetts. She'll do 40 million this year in volume in sales. One of the things she did is she rented out when Taylor Swift had her thing. She rented out the movie theater. She had 100 people show up, her past clients with their kids. The other thing she did is when The Little Mermaid came out, she did the same thing. She had like 80 families show up. What we're going to do at the end of this year is she lives in a place where people ski. She rents out the ski lift for the day. Everybody gets hot chocolate. They get like Rhea's team beanies.
That's cool.
Yeah. So now we have a comprehensive multiple touch program to extract as much as we can out of that.
Right.
And for most agents, I mean, you're different in the sense you have like another business, but like most agents need money right now.
Yeah.
And this will also help you to cut your teeth to really learn procedurally. Prospect, when I book the appointment, how to pre-qualify the appointment fully. So when somebody says, hey, I want to sell my house, you're like, great, I'll see you at 3. No.
Oh, yeah.
I have a handful of questions I'd like to ask just to make sure that I'm fully prepared and I can provide you with the most accurate information.
Right.
Be the best assistance to you. I'll be brief because I know your time is valuable. Notice I wasn't like, is now a good time? Because you're going to say no.
Yeah.
And then I got to follow you down. And then I can ask a bunch of questions like, you know, your home's lovely. It's in a great geographic area. If you don't mind me asking, was there any particular reason you were even considering selling it? I'm looking for your motivation, your motive to take action. Because if you're like, yeah, I just want a bigger backyard for my puppy. No, it's not motivated enough. If you're like, yeah, I got a new job. Okay. I appreciate, congratulations. I'm curious because my job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Is it an option for you to not sell the home and still move? Like maybe rent it out or keep it as a secondary home? I need to know that. Because if you run out there and go talk to them, he'll tell you that on the spot.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, bro, I just spent like 3 hours preparing for this thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I've only spoken to you. You seem to be pretty excited. I'm noticing here there's somebody else on title to the property.
You're almost giving them an out before you even make the appointment, right? You're saying, tell me no now. That way I don't waste the time. And that, well, to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I was learning from those Brandon videos. But what's that? Millionaire?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, and me and him both did the same thing, which is this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the specialized knowledge. It's like, and then also, hey, I've only spoken to you. There's somebody else on title to the property. How do they feel about the move? Because you know how many times I've been on appointments where the wife's like, we're moving. The husband's like this. As soon as I sit down, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Have you done any major modifications or changes that you think would affect its value? Examples being kitchens, bathrooms, and flooring. Because then I'm going to ask you, you strike me to be someone who's pretty savvy. I'm sure you've gone online and looked at some of these estimates of value. Did you have an idea at all of realistically what you were considering listing the home for? Why do I want to know that? Because if you're in outer space, that's a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then if you don't give me the information, you're like, well, just like tell me. It's like, well, I appreciate that. Just so you know, my intention in asking, it's not to be nosy. It's also not to negotiate with you. It's really just to gauge your expectation because sometimes homeowners' expectations aren't in alignment with market conditions. So I'm looking here at one of these sites that give estimates of value. They were saying 650. Is that like in the ballpark of what you were thinking? So I just ask it in a different way. And then you're like, yeah, that's about right. Or you might be like, no, that's way too low. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a net sheet for you. So that way you can see dollars and cents what the proceeds would be when it all shakes out. So I can do that properly and professionally. Is there anything still owed on the property? Any liens, any encumbrances, any, special assessments, second mortgages? And they're like, no, it's free and clear. Okay. And then are you interested in acting like a bank and holding a note for a new buyer? Do you just want from me to help you get all the cash out? Like, no, I think we just want to get cash out. But look, that was an assumptive close. Who's going to get the cash out? Me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you plan on making any change or modifications before I start to bring buyers through? Do you just want me to help you sell it as it is where it is?
Right. Obviously, there's a lot there that you just unpack. But like,
you see, there's a complete method to what we're doing.
But each section of what you were saying has its own.
Yeah. And then, as you know, like right now, the main way that we make decisions is we go online. Like if you and your girlfriend are out, like if we went out to dinner and we don't know where to go, where do we go first? We don't stop somebody in the street and be like, hey, where should I go? No, you go to your phone. And then we look at what? Reviews, pictures, videos. That's who gets the $200 check. So we should be reverse engineering that. So having a Google My Business page with reviews. And what I would say to you on the phone is like, hey, I'm aware that I'm just a voice over the phone. So in the email that I'm going to send you, in the signature of my email, there'll be a link to our website, which you can check out, put a face to the name. There's also a link to all of my personal reviews online. We have the good fortune. We have almost 500 five-star reviews from families that we've helped from start to finish get the most. Yeah. So I encourage you to take a look at a few of those in preparation for connecting, just to get a feel and a flavor for the service and results you provide. Sure. Does that sound okay?
Absolutely.
But why? I'm reverse engineering. I know that's how you make decisions. I'm just going to push you towards it. Mm-hmm. And then, hey, I've asked you a bunch of questions. Do you have any questions for me? You're probably going to say, what's your commission? Well, I appreciate you asking. The professional fee is one of the tools that we use to market the property. So we'll go over the options that you have because I want you to feel comfortable with the one we end up choosing. I promise you this, it's not going to be a reason why we don't do business. I'm sure we'll come up with something that's mutually beneficial to all parties. So I've signaled to you I'm open, but the moment that I say to you what it is, they're going to start to shop it. Does that make sense?
Right.
I want to have that conversation with you in person. And then, hey, at the end, this is critical. You strike me to be someone who's very straightforward and to the point. I'm the same way. So based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, you guys have definitely decided that you're going to sell. It's not a question of if, it's just when and who's going to help you. So when we do connect, if it all makes sense, you feel comfortable and confident with me that I can help. You do that due diligence, you check me out online, you see track record and reviews. Do you think you would be open to the possibility of hiring me to help when I see you tomorrow at 6? You're either going to say yes, no, or what?
So this is all still on the phone. This is before.
100%.
Yeah.
You're either going to say yes, no, or what? Maybe.
Yeah.
No matter if you say yes, I do the happy dance. Yay. If you say no or maybe, that's okay. You know, I know this is a big decision. You want to make sure you're making the best decision possible. So what I'll do is I'll bring with me the market analysis so we can determine together as a team how we need to position the property to make sure we maximize value and get top dollar. I'll also bring with me the appropriate paperwork. So if it all makes sense and you do feel comfortable, confident, we can get started. Does that sound fair?
Yeah. And while you're also preparing them, that there may be something to sign.
Oh, I'm completely setting the expectation.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you said? Like CMA? I didn't know what you said.
Well, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll bring with me
CMA.
the competitive market analysis, right? So we can determine together as a team what would be the most amount we could expect to receive,
It shows the you prepare.
and net bottom line what the proceeds would be. I'll also bring with me the appropriate listing paperwork. So if it all makes sense and you feel comfortable, confident, we can take the next steps. Does that sound fair? Perfect. But it's all leading to somebody being open to my request when I make it, because I'm going to make it. Yeah.
Right.
Now, before I go on the appointment, I need to send an email. What I do is immediately after I send the appointment, there's a software called BombBomb.
Okay.
It's a video software. It's integrated into my CRM. So as soon as I hang up the phone, I push a little button. Video comes up on the screen. I say like this, hey, I wave because it has a, like an automated thumbnail, like automation or animation where like I can go like, if I go like this, the way it shows up in your email is me going like this. And I say, hey there, this is Aaron. I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I know your time is valuable. Having heard the story and what you're looking to accomplish with this move to Texas, I feel supremely confident that provided the opportunity, we can help you net the most and do it quickly and efficiently. So as promised, myself and team and staff, we're going to be doing a lot of homework. We're going to send you an email to this email address. In that email, there'll be that market analysis that we'll be reviewing together as a team. And then I'll also bring with me, again, the appropriate documentation. So if it all makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident, we can take the next steps. So in the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns for me, here's my personal cell phone. It's blankety blank. Otherwise, thanks for taking the time to watch this. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 6. How many people do that? 0. I'm sending myself in the digital form so you can interact with me before I actually see you. So that way, when we meet, guess how you feel? You already know me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then they get an email that has a PDF for the market analysis, and it has a pre-listing package. That's a little bit about you. Like, here's our plan of action. Here's what we're going to be doing to sell the home. Here's some reviews, right? Then assistant calls to confirm, and I go on the appointment. But you see how all of this is set up to increase the probability? My listing ratio was like 87%. So when I go on a listing appointment, 87% of the time they sign it. But because it's all purposely crafted towards that end. And then when I go on the appointment, most people just wing it. No structure, no plan. I'm completely
on that personal connection, which
it's immature.
Yeah.
What I tell people is I'm like, hey, let's operate under the assumption you're not that cool.
Yeah.
Let's operate under that assumption.
You feel like somebody's not ready yet. You say, okay, well,
Yeah, so here's what's cool is like, and it's cool because these are a lot of your, and I mean this lovingly. I hope you know that. Like, know my heart on it. I'm not trying to be like a jerk. A lot of your questions are about like people pushing back. Yeah, so if somebody says I'm not ready yet, it's like, yeah, that's cool. My job's to help you. It's never to talk to you or do anything.
They say they're ready, but you feel they're not ready. You feel you're wasting time going down there. Would you just tell them I'm wasting my time, or would you just come over?
No, I would know in pre-qual.
Yeah.
So if they're being like, what I would say to them is like, if let's say I'm feeling that, I'm like, hey, you know what? Sometimes when I connect with people, they offer to meet because they're just being kind. Other times they're genuinely interested in actually getting their home on the market for sale. Just so I'm clear, which one is it for you? The thing that makes sales kind of squishy and uncomfortable is a lack of straightforwardness, clarity. Just tell me. Like when I met my wife, I took her on a date, right? We had a great time. I dropped her off. She's like, hey, call me next time you want to hang out. I said, no. She was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I've called you multiple times. Clearly I'm interested. I don't want to be your friend. So the next time you want to hang out, call me. And I drove away. Why? I was looking for, what are we doing?
Oh, you want to know if she likes you too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Clarity.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing I'm saying to him, isn't it? So she didn't call me for a week. So I was like, oh man, I just got tried by an 18-year-old, right? But then a week later, she calls me. When she calls me, I'm like, okay, this is like, wrap it up. It's done. Because now she's clearly stating, I am equally as interested in you. And it's the same. That's right. So yeah, and then when I go on the listing presentation, it's all scripted. So hi, when I hit the door, hey, how you doing, Aaron Novello? I had to train myself because I would show up like this. Like, I'm here to do business. Yeah, I had a smile like, hey, how you doing? Aaron Novello, nice to meet you. Did you want me to take my shoes off? And they're like, oh, no, it's fine. Now, if you notice shoes are lined up against the wall, take your shoes off. Even if they say, no.
Sure.
I'm just being respectful of your space. So what I'd like to do is just take a quick look around the home. Would that be okay? What am I doing right away? Taking control. Somebody's going to be in control.
Yeah.
If they're in control, it'll be haphazard all over the place, right? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Okay, great. Well, the first thing I'm noticing is that the home is really tastefully furnished. So when we have offers come in, are we going to be including the contents, or do you want to take that with you to your next destination? When who has offers come in? We. I'm assumptively closing, right? And they're like, no. Like, I think we want to take it with us. Okay, great. I'll make a note of that. And then as they're walking me through the home, and if I remember correctly, you were kind enough to share with me that you don't plan on making any major changes or modifications before I start to bring buyers through. You just want me to help you to sell it as it is, where it is. Is that right? Before who? How many times do you have to ask for something before somebody says yes? Statistically, 7. 7 no's before somebody says yes. Yeah? I ask all the people who have significant others, I'm like, did your significant other say yes the first time? It's usually no. There usually was like a whole series of courting, right? Before I get to the yes. So what I'm doing, notice, in the pre-qual, I said, do you want me to help you to get all the cash out? Or you just want to help, like, are you interested in holding a note for the buyer? Or you just want me to help you get all the cash out? That is one assumptive close, yes? At the end, when I say, if it all makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident, are you open to possibility? It's 2 assumptive closes. Yes? Mm-hmm. Are you planning on making any changes or modifications before I start to bring buyers through? You want me to help you sell it as it is, where it is? That's 3. I haven't even met him yet. Yeah? Then when I send the video, if it all makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident, we can take the next steps. That's 4. As soon as I hit the door, you hear those 2. I'm already at 6. We haven't talked about marketing. We haven't talked about community. We haven't talked about anything. Does that make sense? And then after we do that, we sit down at the table. And I direct where we sit, because if you let them direct where you sit, you end up on a couch with a dog like in your lap, and you'll be like, what the hell's going on here? You'll never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. You know what their claim to fame is? We're the next EXP.
When I talk to people, they're always like, I'll feel disconnected. And I actually tell people that I think the human connection that we experience because we're virtual is even better.
Our interests are in complete alignment. So what I'm doing is I'm meeting with another owner. Well, and what you're describing is the principal and agent problem. If somebody went to business school or whatever, an MBA, what they teach you is that principals and agents are at odds with each other. So principals in a company, they want something. They want to keep as much money as possible. The agents or the employees want the opposite. They want to keep as much possible. And what they say is whoever solves for that principal and agent problem the best wins. And when I was looking at these models, because I used to own part of a franchise, I sold it back in order to participate in this opportunity. I felt the exact same thing that you did, that there was friction. And it was very clear that even though it was a little better, it was still hierarchical. One person got the lion's share of everything, everybody else gets crumbs. And what I realized in studying this model is that this solves for the principal and agent problem the best. It's not perfect, but it's the best. Where now my interests are direct in alignment with the company. I get to become an owner through equity. You'll never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. I get to share in the revenue that the company produces. And what's wild is like, I know this is to be true, and this has nothing to do with you. I did a leadership retreat this year where we took leaders in our organization to the Dominican Republic. You had no idea I did that.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly fine. Like, this becomes, in hierarchical models, what you end up with is weak leadership. Because if you want an A+ opportunity, or A+ talent, you need an A+ opportunity. So because it's hierarchical, what ends up happening, and me and you are an example of that, when A+ talent rises to the top and there's no more opportunity, what do?
They leave.
They leave. What this model does is it becomes a super highway for leaders, where it basically is saying, hey, here's a platform. You can do whatever you want with it. You could build as big of an empire as you would like. We're just the platform, the operating system underneath.
Well, I'm sure you've heard me say it. That's actually how I describe the company,
yeah.
Right? We are an operating platform that allows real estate entrepreneurs to build whatever size dream they want.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a well-known data nerd.
Yeah.
And so when I first got here, my obsession was just understanding who we are and what our population is. Right. So some fun facts that you can share is 29% of our agents have 1 or more people in their downline.
Wow.
Which was higher than I expected it. But then I clicked a second number down, and I was really curious about 3 or more. Because to me, 1 could be an accident. 1 to 2 is an accident. 3, it feels like you're trying.
Yeah.
And when you go down to 3, it's only 14%. And so, again, that's not good or bad. That's just is, right? So one thing it told me is 86% of the people here just to sell homes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've never forgotten that we're a real estate brokerage.
First.
So my obsession in the 2 years I've been here is operational excellence. Like, how do I pay you faster?
Yeah.
How do I answer your broker support questions faster? How do I close the loop on any issues, right? And to me, it's like, let me start with the super important, not sexy, and make that experience amazing. Because unlike other opportunities for folks like you actually are completely relying on the lion's share of the experience on us.
Correct.
Right? Like, you could be the best attractor in the world and create the biggest opportunity. But if onboarding sucks, or broker support sucks, or it takes 2 weeks to pay somebody, who's staying?
Yeah, so what I think is huge about what you just said is I am very clear, EXP is my operational partner, right? So you guys operate. My job is to bring people to the opportunity and then to add tremendous value, right? Your job and the team's job at EXP is to make the operation excellent. And together, because we're all owners, we're all building something together.
The other thought that you just reminded me of when you were saying about your leadership retreat, I asked Glenn a ton of questions when I got here, and just like, I always like to understand the legacy, because there are things that are put in place for a good reason, especially when you have smart people, right? Like, if I see a system or a rule where I'm like, hey, before I go touch anything, let me ask a bunch of questions. But one day I was asking him like the differences in models where in other systems there's a leader, and the people who help attract just kind of bring him to the doorstep, if you will, and let the other people do the work.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the distinction. Like, that person takes them all the way to the finish line. Right. And the way he explained EXP in his original vision, and what definitely came out of it, is we're an experiment in distributed leadership.
And explain to me what you mean by that, because I think I'm clear, but
so in most systems, like, if in traditional, I know any real estate company, any food company that has franchises, right? Like, there's typically a master regional owner. Country owner, right? You sell Europe, Asia, Latin America, the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast. And so there's this person who kind of drops in and evangelizes, and then that person then sells the franchises. And so they get to participate in the total upside. And then there are folks who become super kind of franchise owners, regional owners, of like 5 or 6 or 7 stores. And again, this could literally be McDonald's, real estate companies, to, and fill in the blank, any franchise shop, Subways. And then some people end up with 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And so the revenue opportunity could be, enough to provide for one person's lifestyle. To a multi tens of millions of dollars operation with staff. Right. And I'm talking about Burger King to real estate offices. So what I see that was created here is someone can kind of tiptoe in and say, hey, is this for me? And do a little bit of it and add 20 grand a year to it, like where your cap's covered and you're basically a 100% company, to, 6 and 7 figures a month in revenue.
Correct.
And at that point, you're basically a multi-regional owner.
Yes.
Right?
Without
or
any
multi-office owner.
Without any expenses, major expenses, leases.
I was going to say, the big difference is without a 10 or 12 year franchise agreement, without a 10-year lease on 20,000 square feet.
Correct.
Right? Because what I always want to be clear about is the folks who do really well then treat it like a business, right? That's why the platform statement, like, those are very specific, like 9 words that I've crafted together, because I want to be a platform, and I'm hyper aware that like 68, 70% of our agents are solo producers and will sell 5 to 12 homes a year.
Great.
And I want to be the very best platform for them to do that.
Yep.
Then we have other folks on the extreme side of the production fence. Like, our number 1 team this year is probably going to do 1,200 units with 65 people, right? And we'll probably have 1 in the US and 1 in Canada that do 1,200. Like, Justin Haver and Matt Delhoon. Kenny Fast team and Kyle Whistle will be right behind them. In the US, you will see who Parker Pemberton's coming up right behind them. But Jennifer Jones and everybody else will give Justin equal run for their money in Canada.
Sure.
So we have folks that are running 10 to $20 million GCI businesses. Like that's bigger than most brokerages ever get to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so we need to be able to support people closing 80, 100, 150 transactions a month, right?
Yeah.
There's entire franchises in real estate that don't do that.
Have you ever been a long distance landlord before? Does that concern you at all? With what's happening in Florida with like, if it's breaking even, I mean, the insurance rates are out of control. If that goes up next year, would it mean that you would negative cash flow? How long are you prepared to negative cash flow for? And if you did sell it, could you reallocate the capital and put it into something that has a better return? At the beginning of my real estate career, I was selling real estate in Gainesville, Florida, which, if you've ever been there, outside of the university is a very sleepy, hollow town. Once you get outside the university, it's just cows and churches. Not as though there's anything wrong with cows and churches, but that's all there is. The